alpargatas, dame la boina, dame el fusil, que voy a matar más guiris, que voy a matar más guiris, que voy a matar más guiris, que flores tienen mayo y abril, que voy a matar más guiris, que flores tienen mayo y abril, que yo me voy, que yo me voy, que yo me voy a la facción a defender la bandera de Don Carlos de Borbón, que yo me voy, que yo me voy, que yo me voy a la facción a defender la bandera de Don Carlos de Borbón. Caballero en su caballo viene Don Carlos, ay qué primor. La boina flotando al viento y entre sus manos lleva una flor. Es la reina Margarita, de Parma la más bonita. Entre las flores bonitas y entre las reinas es la mejor. Entre las flores bonitas y entre las reinas es la mejor. Que yo me voy, que yo me voy, que yo me voy a la facción a defender la bandera de Don Carlos de Borbón. Que yo me voy, que yo me voy, que yo me voy a la facción a defender la bandera de Don Carlos de Borbón.
Hello everyone, my name is Nopad and I write games for fun. So what are we doing today? Well, today we're going to be working on the preliminaries for a game, notably by Blade and Cross. Yes, by Blade and Cross. A game about being conquistadors, but you all also have mechs. Why? Because I can do that, because it's my game. I can write whatever the fuck I feel like. And by Blade and Cross actually was kind of I think the word would be inspired by, but more encouraged by Lumen, and in turn Nova. And for those who don't know, Lumen is a very fascinating game that I have a particular dislike for, simply because it's not very entertaining. It's Lumen flavored, and everything about it kind of just reminds me of milk. Milk, but not like skim milk. Give me 1 second, I can open up Nova in particular. Just plug in the right flash drive. And let me see, we want science fiction. Ooh. So for those who don't know, this is Nova. This is Gilla RPG's, I think, his second latest game, because he's got a new one out. This one isn't done, by the way. This game is not done, nor will it ever be done, because that's not the point that this game is supposed to be done. You're supposed to buy the DLC for the game. And reading through this game is kind of what inspired initially by Blade and Cross, because I was curious about how you could do this. Simply because Lumen is actually, what I end up putting my, let's check. New in general systems, Lumen right here. So Lumen by its nature, I'm actually going to do the spreads on this one. Lumen by its nature is a D6 system, and generally speaking, this is your SRD. It is 26 pages. However, you can more accurately call this about 4 pages, because I'm going to summarize the entire game for you, and it's roll some dice, things occur. It's about being in a, as Gilla would like to make you believe it is anyway, it is about a power fantasy. Or more accurately, as he has shown time and time and time again, it's not really about being in a power fantasy, it's about playing video games on the table. Now, obviously there's a market for it because for some reason people keep throwing this man money, which I am still horrified by, and that just proves that God is dead. But generally speaking, Blade and Cross was actually going to be a Lumen game initially. However, looking through things, double checking things, and really deciding, like, wait a second, I need to do this fast and lethal. It's not really that lethal because it's actually quite difficult to die in this kind of game, to the point where in Nova there is actually no rules for dying. You simply just fall over and then get back up. Then you have things such as powers do not require rolls, and the default setting for there's a default setting for Lumen. However, the Lumen default setting is not existent. It doesn't exist. Everything is based off these very simple ranges, and harm doesn't really occur. Again, the Final Death will not be the default setting in Lumen unless you really want it to be, because again, these are all about settings. You go into your little video game menu and you turn on what settings you want. That's what Lumen is. It's not an actual game. It's a set of options because it's an SRD, and for one reason why I actually very much dislike SRDs. But yeah, so you have things such as this. What do these actually do? They do nothing. Ignore the entire moves section. This is all you really care about. It has 2 health and it does 1 harm at these ranges. Do they roll? No, of course they don't. They don't roll for anything. They just simply do things. This is all you really need to focus on. Enemy, they simply do things, and when things occur, they do things again. Very simple. It's not very complicated, nor does it really want to be complicated, because again, it wants to be a video game, but not like a fun video game. It wants to be the most boring variety of them. It wants to be a pretty much hold your hand, looty shooty, in which it does everything bar, stroke your dick. Hello, Draco. What does SRD stand for? SRD is a system reference document. Now, normally what a system reference document used to look like is, let's see, D20 SRD, is it used to do things like this. This was kind of the OG, even like right here. Every single rule, official rule, anything in the D20, oh god, everything in the D20 verse is right here. I want to look up the basics, here's all the basics. I want to look up the core mechanic. There we go, I've looked up the core mechanic of the D20 system. Everything is right here. However, slowly over time, the things such as the SRDs have evolved somewhat. So you get things like Blades in the Dark. Blades in the Dark has its entire system here, and it wants you to do the Forged in the Dark system. Because what it wants you to do is it wants you to buy it, and it wants you to use these systems to make and sell your own games, in which turn goes directly back to them. Because again, they get free advertisement out of it anytime you put any of their own games out. That's how that works. It's very smart. Why my usual perpetual hatred for SRDs? Because I used to be actually a fan of them. I actually used to be a fan of SRDs because I'm like, yeah, this is actually kind of a cool idea. And then if you actually pay attention, I actually have a few SRDs myself. However, SRDs used, how do I want to word this? Okay. I want to word this. Old SRDs were system reference documentation. At a very simple idea. They were just this. They were nothing more, nothing less. You couldn't, like, if I go to the D20 SRD, for example. See that work, yes. If we go back a little bit. If I go here, everything I need is right here, with the intent being for, again, referencing a system, checking something out, or getting people invested in the system. So it's kind of the base to get people into it changed. you want to use this because it's a very big game. There's a lot of options, and it also allows people to kind of make something that they want to possibly make themselves. However, over time, SRDs changed. I cannot give you an accurate date when. I cannot give you an accurate date why. All I can say, new SRDs are now games, but incomplete. And that's a very distinct difference. Because at the end of the day, you can play the D20 game, you can play a D20 fantasy game right now using the D20 SRD. You can. You can play Blades in the Dark using that. Some of these games, like Lumen, you can't play anything in Lumen. Lumen is not actually a game. There's no game there. That's just not a thing, really, if that makes any sense. And slowly, over time, the SRDs have shifted to these things where they just want you to buy their own game. And like, oh, well, purchase my SRD and, you know, it'll work. Or, you know, purchase this. Or it's you get, like, it's a perpetual joke in my book at this point where I grade on the number of them. Let's see, if I remember correctly, there's Powered by Charge, Powered by the Apocalypse, Forged in the Dark. What was the Powered by Hydra? What was some other ones? Technically, Lancer has one apparently, Powered by Lancer. Let me see. There was another one that I was that I saw that was funny. Then we have things like Caltrop Core. It's pretty much the idea is that SRDs used to inspire creativity simply because they gave you everything in a very simple way. Problem is now is that there's so fucking many of them, and they're all kind of, how do I want to word it? D20 works because it's a complicated system. Overall, there's a lot of rules that people want to reference. Because at the end of the day, that's what it is. It is a reference document. It is not a game. And I think one of the big things what happens to a lot of SRDs nowadays is that everybody wants to be the next Powered by the Apocalypse. Everybody wants to be the next Forged in the Dark. That means I can still inspire from the old ones to get new games. Correct, you can. Don't get me wrong, you can still. But the problem is, instead of doing anything unique with them, instead of taking those core mechanics and doing something, many of them turn out to be the exact same thing with a different coat of paint. And that is what happened to the D20 SRD. Because if anyone remembers, way back in the day, in the olden times, the olden days, you ended up with a problem where everything had a D20 game. Remember all those D20 games that were out there? Yeah. Most of them were terrible. They were bad. And they clogged the market, and they caused a damn near collapse because there was so much shit that nothing mattered. D20 was a fat... Brother, you don't understand. D20 is still around. We're still buying. People are still buying 5e. People are still making entire sub-product. There are entire companies whose entire sole business model is to make 5e content, for God's sakes. The Pathfinder is a completely different one. Pretty much what I'm trying to get across here is that there are... I reject your reality. Hey, I wish too. Pretty much... The intent of SRDs is actually a noble one. Here's all the rules to our game. You can reference them instead of everyone having to buy a book, instead of having to loan books around, or you now have access to it right here. And it's cool, it's fun, it's right there. However, people aren't stupid. People are far from stupid. And these companies, Paizo, Wizards of the Coast, they damn well know that every time that someone puts out their brand new game, every time someone puts out that brand new game, they're going to get 1 or 2 people who are going to buy the book. because they want to play that one. The Bible art, remember that Bible RPG, the Bible 5e that came out on Kickstarter not too long ago? Yeah, no, damn straight people are, you can't play 5e with just that book. That's not, I don't think it's physically possible. You probably have the basic rules, but everyone wants to play a fight. But at the end of the day, they're not going to they can't give you the full rule book. No, that's an expansion book to 5e. You need to buy 5e first. And if you have 5e, you're giving Wizards money. It's great, isn't it? It's welcome to the future. Welcome to the future, because you can't just buy the core book anymore, can you? You gotta buy the DMG. Then you have to buy the monster manuals. Then you gotta buy the updated ones. And don't forget, you gotta buy everything else. It's genius. The business model of SRDs is insane, and it's things like I think at the top of my head, like everybody wants to do that. Like people are talking about let me see, like PBTA. PBTA was insane because PBTA had no license. I don't think, people don't usually tend to think about that, but PBTA does not actually have a formal license. People say powered by the Apocalypse. But it's actually, Lumpley doesn't see any money from this, by the way. No one buys Apocalypse World to buy anything else. But that's the problem, is that it's expanded past him. Apocalypse World is no longer Lumpley Games. Of course not. It's gone way beyond him. It's taken on an entire life of its own. However, let's say I want to have a playbook. I want to build a new playbook for, let's say, a playbook for masks. I'm going to put out a playbook for masks. And my playbook is going to cost $2. However, to use that playbook, you're going to need to buy masks, and that's what they want. Magpie wants you to build something so you can now play something in masks, because they're going to have to put down some money to buy that book, because they want to play your class. They want to play your playbook. Playbooks are notorious, and this is why I hate playbooks. But that's like its own. Would you rather play D&D PBTA or Apocalypse World DD20? Neither, because PBTA is Powered by the Apocalypse is not a game. You can't play Powered by the Apocalypse. That's the funny thing. It's a philosophy at this point. That's not a thing. Apocalypse World exists. Spirit of 77 exists, but different philosophies have changed over the years. You also have things like D20. You can't really play D20 by yourself, but if you look hard enough, there probably is. Post-apocalypse. Actually, you know what? Just because I hate all of you. Just because I hate every single one of you. Let's do it. Post-apocalyptic D&D 5e. Let's do it. Oh, 2015. Oh, Post-apocalypse comes to 5e right here, everybody. Oh, wow, look. 5e compatible. 5e compatible. Planet Apocalypse or 5e. Wow. 5e fantasy. Planet post-apocalyptic landscape. Wow. Look at all these cool 5e compatible games. Want to play Pugmire? It's D20. Ah, maybe we should buy all the Pony Finder books. How about that? You want to buy all the Pony Finder books, which are 5e compatible, which are not only 5e compatible, are Starfinder compatible, Pathfinder compatible, and probably 3.5, compatible. Because don't forget, Pathfinder is just 3.5. Well, Pathfinder 1e, not Pathfinder 2e. But that's its own different thing. Capes and Cooks, what a 5e game. Pony Finder? See, if I were to do a Pony Finder video, if I were to do the Pony Finder videos, I would have to make it deadly serious. Just deadly serious. Because the thing is, I met the Pony Finder guy. He's a nice dude, actually. But it's what I'm trying to get across more than anything when it comes to my dislike of SRDs is that SRDs at first were good, and they do inspire creativity. There's some good D20 games. just as much as there are good powered by the Apocalypse games. Don't get me wrong. There are good games in those. However, you have a what's the correct what's the theorem? I want to say it's not fucking Maslow's. It's Goldstein. It's 90% of everything. No, what's 90%? Sturgeon's law. There we are. Very basic understanding of Sturgeon's law is that 90% of anything produced is shit. It's bad. It doesn't need to be good. However, in our market, I think it's very easy. And in any market, you can do this for just about any market. Yep. Easy to enter, easy to ride, fully market driven. Fully marketing driven. That's all it is. You do not need to make a quality product in this thing to actually be successful. That is a well-known fact. You do not need to actually make a quality product. Where the clips are saved. Oh, Jesus. There we go. There we go. Just for you all. I'll save it as a highlight. It'll probably pop up after stream. But what I'm trying to get across more than anything is that there are SRDs have over time slowly polluted the market because everybody wants one. Everybody wants to be the next Blades in the Dark, next Powered by the Apocalypse, to the point where there was let me see if I can remember. This was here we go. Now, mind you, this person may be a literal child. Where these are all of these are SRDs. All of these are system reference documents. They are not made for like, this is like a actual game that has been converted into an SRD. No, that's not the point. It was never the point. It never will be the point. Charge, that was it. Charge is the weird one, which I don't believe is a real game. I don't actually think this is. But it's not about creating something new. It's about creating something marketable. That you see, like, you see the issue. The problem with many is that they only make an SRD for others to make pseudo games with, rather than making an actual game. That is the core issue. That is my core issue with SRDs these days. I don't hate SRDs. I hate what people have done to SRDs. As much as Powered by the Apocalypse. I don't hate Powered by the Apocalypse. I hate what people do to Powered by the Apocalypse. I don't hate Lumen. Actually, I do hate Lumen. That's just like a philosophical standpoint. I hate Lumen, but I hate what people do to Lumen. Because they try to make it out to be something more than it actually is, which is a video game RPG. Hence why we're going to be making our own. So for that 20-minute extravagance of me... Of me, you know, wanting to, you know, dance around using the corpse of SRDs as to make a fun thing. Let's get to actually what I plan on doing today, otherwise known as this. So, this is by Blade and Cross. So, we're going to be making our own game. However, we have something very, very special. So mostly we're going to be using, I think I'm going to stick to this. I think the glory, faith, and gold is going to be a good idea. So this is pretty much going to, so glory is mostly going to be our physical slash, kind of personality driven one. Faith, because again, we don't have many attributes. However, each of those attributes has to do kind of pull double duty. So glory is our, kind of how physical we are, as well as how kind of personable we are. Glory is the kind of, someone high in glory is some guy who kicks down the door with a sword in hand and winks at you, being like, all right, men, here we go. Gather around me. We're going to conquer some shit, and we're going to have some fun while doing it. So, all right. Faith is going to be more mental. Is actually, let's see. So actually, if we do, actually, it's going to be more mental, and it's also going to be a little bit more luck driven. So anytime you need to make just something raw luck, probably going to be making a faith check more than any, because you have your faith in God. Again, I'm just throwing shit at the wall right now. So gold will and finally we have gold. Unless we really want to change this, which will be, because the original idea, the original concept, you could say, was that every character is based off of 3 very core stats. So we'll do, we'll just give him a simple name. Diego Gorgon, and he would have something like Glory 4, Faith 2, and Gold 3. Gold 3. That was the basic idea. However, one of the big things is I'm going to be changing how the actual dice system works. Because in Lumen is very simple. Lumen is excessively simple. Lumen, you have a dice pool. You roll the dice. You roll the dice. And then you interpret the results, which normally is 1 to 2 is failure, 3 to 4 is partial success, 5 to 6 is success. So, for example, if I roll 4d6 and I get a 2, 3, 4, 5, I would get a success, because my highest die is a 5. These numbers do not matter. Now, obviously, we need to change that, because we need to make that actually interesting, because I fucking despise this. I have never liked these kind of results, because they don't mean anything. So what we're going to be doing is something a little bit different. What we're going to do is we're going to be we will roll dice, and then we get to interpret successes. So, interpret successes. So, 1 to 2 is 0 successes. We'll just call them 0s. 3 to 4 is going to be 1s. And 5 to 6 is going to be 2s. So, the basic idea is that you need to score successes. So, you may have, say, for example, a thing with like target number 3. You need to beat 3 successes. So, if I have that same 4d6, let's take all our dice right here. I said, let me take all my dice right here. 6. And I'm going to roll real fast. So I rolled my dice, and I've got a 6. So 2 4s. All right, so that's a 6. So that's 2, 3, 4, and a 1. That is 0. So I've scored 4 successes. I've passed the check. Pretty standard. However, this is where things get a little bit weird. We're going to make this a little bit more interesting. So we're going to be doing a success. So it's going to be a success-based dice pool. Success-based, and we're going to make that 1, 2 equals 0, 3, 4 equal 1, and 5, 6 equal 2. Very simple, because again, this is going to predominantly lead to you being more successful than not being successful. So we want that to feel competent. However, this is where things get a little bit funky. This is going to be almost exclusively for non-combat. Yes, non-combat. Because for combat, because we want to keep the same idea for Lumen. And Lumen doesn't actually have that much when it comes to combat. Combat is more about saying that you're going to do a thing and it occurring. A lot of guaranteed action in those. However, we want to put something a little bit more unique in it because that's how we operate here. So, it's still going to be a dice pool. Don't get me wrong, it's still going to be a dice pool, but it's going to be a keep system. It's going to be a keep system. Now, what does that actually mean? So, let's say, for example, I roll a 5. Let's say I roll a 3, 4, 5, and a 6. Let's say that. These are my dice. I've successfully rolled these 3. Now, during my action, I can use all of those dice to do something. Let's say to move forward X number of spaces. It's going to cost me 2 per 1 tile. 2 for 1. So I need to move up 2 spaces. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to knock out that 4. So I'm going to, my first action is going to be move 2, it's a move 2 spaces, which is going to cost me 4. But let's say I want to use my pneumatic hammer or something on my right arm. I want to hit you with my hammer. That hammer costs 7. That hammer hit costs 7. So I look at my dice and I'm like, okay, what do I need to spend to get that 7? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to knock out these 2. I've spent 8 for 7, but that hammer hit may, for example, do a 4 plus overage. We'll call it overages for now. Because I spent 8 on it, I'm going to do 5 damage. I walked up to you, clunk, clunk, beat you over the head with the hammer for a little extra damage. Now I have that 6 still. What do I want to do with that 6, though? Maybe I want to do a defense or something. And that defense is just going to be an X. And what that defense is going to do is that I'm going to get the overage. I'm going to get value plus, and I'm going to get value plus 1. I'm just going to get my value in defense. So I'm going to spend that final 6 to get 6 defense. Congratulations, we solved combat. Now, what does this actually do? What's the goal? What's the plan? What the fuck? What am I actually attempting to do here? Well, if we look at how the actual combat system here works, it's low equals 0 success, high equal more success. At the end of the day, that is literally the entirety of Lumen. That's all the game is roll high and it reaches under the table and gives you a fucking handy. However, we want to make that a little bit more interesting. We want to make that a little bit more nuanced because I hate that system. So, that's all we've done here. So, if you roll 1, 1, if you roll 1, 1, 1, 2, you're going to be at a disadvantage, but you still have these things to do. You didn't fail. You're not like at a bad situation. It's like, oh, well, you just don't get a turn now. It's, well, using these very limited resources you now have, you're going to need to come up with something to fix it. And for the astute observer, you realize this is just from Dracu Rouge. Yes, because Dracu Rouge is really good, and I actually really enjoyed it. So I'm literally just going to steal that system almost verbatim, because I can, and it's going to be making into a goddamn mech game, because I am a sociopath. Which is going... So I'll probably throw in a... Half of me wants to throw in like a meta currency, and I was probably going to do something like a Pips of Glory system. Here, for those who don't know, in Dracu Rouge, in Chuny Vampires, if you roll something like this, for example, you would get a free 10. You would get a free 10 because you roll 2 1s. If you roll 2 1s or 2 6s, you get a free 10. If only just because. However, it's not like you'd get a free higher 10 or anything unless you scored only 6s or only 1s. I roll 2 1s here, I would get a free 10. However, if I did this, I would technically get 10. I'll probably want to get a Pips of Glory system, just if only to help with the combat. However, we can probably add in something similar to this to the non-combat section, because again, it's entirely success-based. There's probably something we can do, because we need to make something interesting. So we have the basic system in place, so we know like how the actual like 1 to 2 to 3s are gonna work. So unless we change like goal, like okay. So the basic attributes I originally thought was going to be glory, faith, and gold. With the idea being the very interpretive results being like kind of like this is what this roughly is, what this roughly is. Unless we want to change it to be a little bit more precise, let's actually do the game that this setting is going to be based off this other game I have. It's going to be SPRUG. Is it not the saga? No, no, no. Where are you? Ah, there we go. The Saga of King Arthur and the Men of Metal. But let's actually do a double check. You're gonna need a full. Let's see. So you're using a D10 system. You just body, mind, spirit. Pretty standard body, mind, spirit mechanic, unless we do the temperaments. Well, actually, that could be kind of something a little bit more interesting. Well, if we keep the temperaments and we do something like this, because overall, in what I wanted to get across in Saga was that the golem changes kind of gradually with the player. So aggressive and defensive, it's, to fight or protect. The fight or protect, instinct versus sensation, which is reaction versus actually, it would be immediate. Actually, I should say immediate. Actually, what would be? It would be what's an antonym? Because it's kind of like the opposite of meticulous. It would be something like aggressive instinct. Like you're kind of powered more by. Yeah, it's more like your actually. Instinct versus meticulous, errant versus steadfast. So it would be movement. We could do freedom versus stability, and faith versus fortune, which we can use, which is destined luck versus something akin to that. If we put another one in, we could probably do something else. You want to be more clockpunk type of game than ahistorical. The original lore of Saga of King Arthur and the Men of Metal, the ones which actually kind of set this up, because the entirety of this particular game was built around, we want fantasy mechs, but there are no fantasy mech games. So the basic lore, you could say, of this game is there are giant walking things called golems. They are built in the image of whoever builds them, and probably the most useful, the old empire, which I believe I called them the Latiums, the Latium Empire, because I was being very... with the idea being that the Latium designs were pretty much like these, I think the best way to word it was... Picture Julius Caesar here walking at you full bore with him piloting his own statue, ready to fuck your day up. They were literally golems powered by magic, as in they were legitimately just magic. However, they had just been worked so far into the society of the world that it was just fine. In Saga, the Saga of King Arthur and the Men of Metal, the entire idea is, let me see, where was the poison troops? Arthur pulls the blade from the golem, activating and bonding with Excalibur, the greatest golem on the island, crafted from pure golden, golden or calcum and adamantine ores. Yes, King Arthur activated a super mech to pilot, and that's how he saved everybody. The basic lore is quite literally, there are magic places on a golem, you stab the magic places, and they fall over. Everybody has giant magic golems, and I can't believe it's not Europe. Or, I can't believe it's not Asia. It's definitely not historical. It also isn't quite not historical. And it's like, what would European society do if everyone had these giant fucking golems? And the answer is, get into fights more often. But the problem is, golems adhere to the pilot. So they will shift and change, and in Arthur, the entire idea is that you're supposed to pass down these mechs through the family, just for a family line. So let's see. I feel like I need a fifth one. Aggressive and defensive. Instinct versus sensation. Errant versus steadfast. Faith versus fortune. I guess we can add in a kind of a more like a personal one. So kind of like the idea of like personal glory versus kind of like we're in this together. What would be a good idea then? Humble, modesty. Glory versus unity, which is personal ego versus group determination. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's do this. Use these as our basic stats. So your stats might look like something like, might be some, let's say we base it off of 6. Actually, Catholic numerology. Yeah, baby. It's good numbers in Catholicism. Actually, yeah, we can do 7. We'll use 7 as a good mystical number. We use 7 for it. So your stats might look like something like this. 5/2 aggressive defensive. Like 4/3 instinct versus sensation. And like okay, so we have the idea of if I'm being aggressive, I act aggressive. I'm going full fucking ham on you. I want to. If I choose to act aggressive, I'm going to be rewarded by being aggressive. Do I not have an extra d6 here? I only have 4 d6. Oh, there's my d6. So, I'll roll my dice and be like, okay, I scored... let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I scored 4 successes, but if I'm doing something such as... If I am trying to not be stable, I'm a stable person. I am not really being very aggressive. I don't say aggressive would be the right word. I kind of like to plan things out. I don't like just to do something at the seat of my pants. If I'm doing something at the seat of my pants, I'm going to have to just roll a d6. I've just got to pray. That's not something I do. So, all right. So when you're seeking out more personal glory, I think I'm getting... These might get refined down a little bit more. Okay, so we've got our basic idea. I think we have the system in place. What we're going to be pretty much calling it is, this is the system. The main split is going to come here. See, the main problem is going to be right here. That's where I think a lot of time is going to be. So one thing we have to worry about is we're going to have to do exploring the new world. We're going to have the resupply mechanic. So obviously, I think the expedition system, we're going to need an expedition. We're going to need an expedition system with resupply mechanics. And in turn, with an expedition system, that means we're going to have a fairly, I'm going to call it decent traveling rules. Not good traveling rules. They're going to have to just be fine. They're going to have to be functional. Because the entire idea is that you are golem riding, you are captains of the expedition force. You're not necessarily you're not the general, you're not the leader, you are his captains pretty much. He's going to sit behind and pretty much a golem designed to keep everyone alive. Your job is to actually go out there and kind of start fighting, and you're the ones leading the troops. You're part of the inner circle, so you're captains of the expeditionary force. The golems are makeshift golems. And refine the deeper you go in. However, since you're exploring the new world, you are going to be in hostile territory, which is going to say maybe like randomized. Maybe we put in like a randomized new world system. Different cultures. Different cultures and interactions with, but the entire idea being that you have one major threat. So you have the major threat, which is going to be, I don't have a name for them yet. They're just going to be the major threat because they have blood golems. They literally are like, here's the literal sacrifices we've made to forge our own golems of blood and iron and terrifying. And everyone in this pretty much like, haha, we're Europeans and we're going to sail in here. It's going to be fine. Haha, we have guns. And they're like, we have giant blood mechs. And it's like, fuck. They ride their personal gods. You don't. Let's see. So, start from the bottom. So so kind of builds up to this. You want to secure parts and you want to get better golems. So because you are trying to get these better golems kind of consistently there, and then we're going to have to build we'll call it the expedition camp set. Actually, what we'll do is we'll call it the camp system. So pretty much instead of like a really formal, like here's home base, you have a camp. You kind of are going to go from place A to point A to point B to kind of do that, with the idea being, so actually no, to do something like, so the basic idea, basic gameplay loop, you can say, is, explore, exploit, and then probably it would be, let's see, the classic 4X things are explore, expand, exploit, exterminate. I think the idea would be more explore, exploit, understand, or yeah, even like, just explore, exploit, understand, and then we can probably do a trade. So the idea is that you are exploring to get better resources, exploring to find things to exploit, and you exploit them by trading back to the motherland. Once you use to the motherland, you are going to get more tools to survive, in which is going to let you explore better. This is kind of the basic gameplay loop. So things might go, for example, so a basic session might be, we can keep it fairly episodic. I think that would be the most appropriate, which would be something akin to the peoples of X. The people are X are in danger from raiding from the hostile people of Y. They hate each other. But are fully willing to negotiate. What does the expedition do? So it's like we can ally with so you can do things like we can ally with people X. Actually, we can do like ally with X, and then the session becomes defend from Y, receive goods. However, you can ally with Y, attack X, receive goods. So it's kind of just that idea of like we're trying to build alliances with these different people to kind of survive. Again, you explore around, you exploit people, or you exploit the situation, trade with other people, whether that's information, resources, gear, just manpower, or just time, or blood in some cases, and that's how you're going to survive. To explore more, to exploit more, to trade. A little bit more broader scope thing might be like, the people of X have a powerful artifact that the expedition wants. Let's see, the people of X have a powerful artifact, and it could be something like, what do you do? Well, we know, because 4 sessions ago, we know people X have a rivalry with Y. We also know that people Y are weaker than people X. And people X, but people Y don't care about the artifact. Don't care about the artifact. Now, there's a few ways you can approach things. Again, explore, exploit, trade, survive. That's the plan. So if we use that basic idea, put here. What I should put down here is that things don't no natural recovery for golems. And I'll put will to what would be so people met in blood, which is going to be means we're probably going to have to put like a mass combat system in, like actually we can probably put like a simple mass combat system in. So all right. There we go. We'll put right there. See, this is where things are a little bit hinky because we're going to put use down here. So most part, so system, so the golem. Going to be composed of material and limbs. So obviously we're going to have the head, chest, definitely arm. So left arm, right arm. We can probably do something like chest, like make 2 sections of chest, and then from there it would be leg 1, 2. So limbs are going to be based off material. Movement, let's do just movement equals condition battlefield, condition of the battlefield. And we could probably do something like, these are cheap, shitty mechs. These aren't like formal ones. How big were these ones? So I remember these things were fucking huge. And I didn't mean for them to be freaking huge, but they just kind of ended up being that way. Random hit location, left arm, right arm, torso, infantry, but not really. So let's see. Each chest stands around 10 meters tall, so about 30-ish feet. So they're about 10 meters tall on stand of like an average golems. Yes, I actually have. I do actually have an answer for Jewish golems. It's pretty much the idea. I can't believe it's not Jews. They're the only ones who've been able to automate their golems. Everyone else must pilot them. That's kind of the basic idea. Is like, yeah, I have to pilot my golem. You can just type it. You can just write in emeth. It'd be emeth, right? Yeah. I don't think that's emeth. Yeah, that doesn't really. It doesn't remind me very much of that. Have that. Oh, daily life with the monster. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a golem, all right. No, sweet baby Jesus. Oh no, we're not looking at that. The horny police are at my window. They are going to break down. God help us all. So yeah, you're about through 10 meters. You're really going to be standing about. Yeah, so these aren't actually going to be that. Should say even 3 to 5. 3 meters would actually it would be about 5 meters. 4 to 5. We can do 4 to 5 meters. The 4 to 5 meters. Like, these things are not formal. You're pretty much going to be building your own thing, and then you're going to have a church of the I can't believe it's not the Catholic Church show up, and the I can't believe it's not Catholic Church are going to give you being like, haha, we have successfully made your golem move by the power of God. The white God preserves us. Being like, yes, the white God preserves. Praise be to him. So yeah, you're looking at about 4 to 5 meters on most of these. So movement equals condition to battlefield. Maybe you. I am very. I am. There's nothing you can stop me from making my golems look like cute girls, male. Unfortunately, your starting ones are quite literally going to be you've chopped down a bunch of trees, you've fashioned a few of them, you've the expedition's priest has put on the magic sigils, and you are going. They're not going to be very pretty. If you want to name them something female, I cannot stop you. Over time, if you want to slowly carve out, or you want to get those parts to be piloting around your giant waifu, don't think I cannot stop you. Or giant waifu, male. I cannot stop you. So, okay, so I actually am considered using the action map, which the action map would literally be something like. Oh, that's a bad example. It would have to be like we can say we'd go from like hell. The middle would obviously be purgatory. Luckily, I can just put heaven here. And then we can put Eden. And then we put Tartarus. So the idea would be pretty much just Necronica, the basic Necronica map, where instead of strict, like position A, position B, position, yeah, instead of being like, I'm at this square, you're at this square, 1, 2, 3, 4, it would be like, to move from here to here would cost X, to move to here would cost Y. It would pretty much just be like an expanded version of this map. But that's kind of like I'm debating on that one. I got a few ideas how to do the map, but most of the actions would be limb or equipment based. And luckily, because I am a genius, because I am, as they say, a complete genius who have gone nothing wrong, is we have this, which I can probably apply to this particular. I might be able to do some things with this particular system. Where it's like stand ground, power striking, and things like this. Most things are already here. Which, weirdly enough, this combat system was based off of Battle Brothers. Not Battle Brothers. This combat system was based off of Bastard Bonds. Which, fun fact, I fucking love Bastard Bonds, and it's a great goddamn game, and you should all play it. Not even memeing. Do it. Like, just play Bastard Bonds. Okay. So we already have all this stuff, so we should be able to move over pretty nicely. So yeah, all action will be either limb or equipment based, and most things is going to be are going to be guaranteed action in that regard. So instead of having to roll, well, actually that still applies to this. We can still probably do things like this, but you're just slowly reducing the number of dice you actually have. So it would be like, just go as hard as you can. You're just reducing what you're able to do. Let's see, most actions would be limb or equipment based. As long as you have the points, you can do. As long as you are able to use this. Pips of glory. Yeah, that's fine. So, yeah. All right. Actually, this is turning out a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. So, roughly speaking, in my mind's eye, the thing that's going to be complicated, the thing that's going to take the absolute longest, I think getting the combat system in place is going to take a little while. If only because there's going to be a lot of stuff to worry about that. But luckily, I have this, which I'll be able to kind of port over relatively well. It'll just be changing things. Changing things and assigning costs and making sure everything actually functions properly. A lot easier said than done. This system's going to take for fucking ever. Like, I have a few ideas for it, but it's mostly like how to make that work. And like this is just going to be a lot of charts and a lot of just double checking. And then like this will be a little bit wonky. All right. All right. Okey-dokey then. So everything's working pretty decently. This is going to be the bit that's going to take a while, because I'm pretty much going to have to build an entire system for you to randomly generate like 4 to 6 cultures, and then just have a system be like, just literally write out a map that is incomplete because you do not know what the map is. Actually. Notepad, you may be a genius. Can't believe I'm this fucking intelligent. Holy shit. Yeah, okay. We can use this system. Okay. We can use this system to generate the new world really fast. Use the idea of anchors and such. If we use the idea of... Okay. Alright. Alright, gamers. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good, everybody. Okay. Alright, I'm feeling a lot better. Because if we use this, we can combine it with this section. Because pretty much, for those who don't know, this is Fear and Hunger Forgotten Chronicles. Fear and Hunger is a lovely game. You should play Fear and Hunger right now. I'm not requesting this. This is a threat. But what I did was, I wanted to go in there because one of the big things about Fear and Hunger is that the dungeon is slightly randomized. No two dungeons you go into are going to be the same kind of layout wise. They're going to be slightly different. Things are going to be placed in kind of different areas. Like there's going to be the similar areas, but it's going to be just a little bit winding, a little bit different. And one of the things I wanted to do with that is I wanted to make sure that not even the game master knew what the dungeon was going to be like. You can't create the dungeon right off the bat. The idea being that it's kind of hard for you to even say what it is. So what I did was, roll a set of dice on a flat area, mark where the dice fall, as well as their values. The floor has been mapped out, but the danger is still fresh in the midst. Which you do, like this was my example roll. Roll a bunch of D6s, D4s, and D8s and stuff, and then scroll down, and then you just start marking out all the passages. It's dice that are land close to another, touching one another, have a continuous passage, regardless of facing. Apart from one another that are even or odd numbers connect with basic passages. Dice with no connections connect to the closest passage as a dangerous passage. Or as basically a passage, it can have a secret passage. So it's kind of this idea, and how, bringing this all together, where you have ideas of coin flips, where it's every time you have to just find, you can use your coins effectively, your lucky coins, to put down locations of interest. Now what we can do with this is that we can use this to flesh out a section of the new world in which you're exploring this. Like you have a vague understanding of what's here and here and here, but you're using your coin effectively, your quote coin, as a method to say, this is where our camp is currently. This is where it is. This is where it is, to kind of give you a good idea of where things are. And this is like my sample on the Santa Randanio Market District, which is gradually built up its own thing. All right. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. All right. I think I'm gonna call it there. And it wasn't a long one, just because it doesn't really need to be that long. I will say on here to anyone interested, this is the current list of games that are going to be on the next batch of Notocracy. I have a few ideas. I got 2 Reduxes, technically 4 RPGs, 2 war games. I might add in another war game in there just to fill things out. This is the oddest one currently of the bunch, just because it's been kind of requested a few times, and I've been wanting to do it. 2 Reduxes, including one for Fear and Hunger. That's why I kind of like snapped my mind. I'm like, wait a second. And the only other odd one is this one, which is Trenchfoot, which I'm actually kind of excited to write if it gets selected. So, I'm going to call it there. Godspeed. Good luck. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And this will be formally beginning on Wednesday. And when I don't know how long it's going to be, but most likely it won't be like super duper long, I don't think. Just because like there's a lot of things already present. But I've said that before and it's taken for fucking ever. So, thank you all for watching. Godspeed, good luck. I'll see you all later. And don't forget the furry curious case of this Saturday, because God has abandoned us.